So hello everyone, thanks for having me here. So I'm not a native English speaker, so just in case I'm talking something strange, please feel free to interrupt me and I'll be happy to explain it in different words. Okay, so my presentation today is about IT security in the age of Internet of Things, IoT. So first of it all, I'd like to share some facts and figures about OTRS itself. I'm quite sure that many of you never heard of OTRS before, but in fact we started with in the last century, so in 1999, that makes a lot of meaning if I say we started in the last century, our journey developing a ticket management solution. Back then, that was a project with SUSE Linux in Nuremberg, in Germany, because they had the demand to find a solution to structure their kind of service requests and to make sure that every single request they received gets answered in a proper and a timely manner, for sure. That is how OTRS got started. We evolved the system itself very fast into a system which is used globally. So nowadays we're having up to 170,000 installations around the globe. So we're keeping track about our download servers pretty much. And in fact, there's almost no country in the whole world where we see no downloads for OTRS. So we're quite proud of that, which led to the fact that the system itself was also translated to 38 languages, and that number is even not correct nowadays. We lately just completed the 40 languages, so you find many localizations of OTRS so that everyone can use the software in their native language, which makes it a lot easier to adopt it to your needs for sure. The software itself was developed under an open source license that helped us to grow that rapidly. And in fact, in 2003, we were almost forced by the existing user base to found a company to deliver professional services. So every one of us back then had their own jobs working in different areas. But the customer demand was growing and growing, and we had no other chance than open a professional company to serve our existing customer base. So that is also a very nice thing we're quite proud of. Nowadays, OTRS has presence in many countries. So in the United States, we are in Cupertino, so the place to be as a software company, right? Close to the former MySQL headquarters, actually. So that is where we operate the whole Northern American continent. We also have a subsidiary in Mexico to serve the Spanish-speaking part of America. And since almost 2 years, we have another subsidiary in Brazil to serve the Brazilian market specifically. In Europe, we have our headquarters in Germany still, and since 1 year and 3 months, Sylvia, correct me if I'm not wrong, we opened our subsidiary in Budapest. So that was also a very interesting thing. The company itself was one of our partners before, and we've also seen a growing demand throughout Hungary, and that is when we decided, okay, we need to have our own company to serve that market in a better way than we did before. And for sure, in Hungarian language, right? Because that is something, as you hear, I'm struggling with still. Then we have another huge partner located in Italy, that is Word Phoenix. They are taking care about the Italian-speaking market pretty much. And in Spain, we have also Exevi, that is an integrator more focused on the financial market and serving their customers based out of Madrid. In Portugal, we have also IT Square, another integrator serving the Portuguese market. And from there, we also expanded to Asia. We started in Hong Kong. where we serve, for sure, Hong Kong itself and the Chinese market, and in Singapore that helps us to serve the rest of Asia in the best possible way. So what is that OTRS doing? So in fact, the communication without OTRS, I was trying just to depict that in that way. The organization itself receives inquiries, requests from many, many different people through different channels, and typically it is quite hard for the organization itself to determine what is the current state of such a request. So until today, we are facing in many projects organizations that still use Outlook as their primarily source of communicating with their customers in a so-called unstructured way then. So that is when OTRS comes into the game. We support many communication channels, started from email, going through social media channels, going through voice channels and such. We take that communication, put it into OTRS, and from there it can be applied to certain processes to make sure you meet your SLAs, that you can finally report to your customers that you have fulfilled your SLA requirements and such aspects. Just a few references. I will go through these slides very quick. So in EMEA we have some major organizations as our customers, where we also are pretty proud of for sure. In the US, we serve Hewlett-Packard, for example. So, and I like that example, since Hewlett-Packard, as you might know, has their own solution, which does more or less something similar than OTRS. But that solution for HP, it's too expensive to use it internally. That's why they have chosen to use our solution, which is quite smart, if you ask me. CSC, they are using OTRS in their projects. So they use OTRS when it comes to IT service management, according to ITIL, when it comes about process design, and they lately started also focusing on the corporate security consulting market, and that is also where Storm, one of our product flavors, comes into the game. In Brazil, so I've not heard of any of these companies before, to be honest. And in Asia, we serve from Huawei, for example. They use OTRS in their projects when they build new mobile networks in countries. They use OTRS as the primary incident management and service request solution. So let's come to the topic about my presentation itself, talking about IoT. So that is a term we hear almost every day. In general, we can think about IoT as a number of devices that are connected through a network and exchanging information, more or less. I put you here the official definition somehow, which is way more complicated, but I think you're all aware of IoT, so there's nothing I need to explain about that itself. That is a more, some kind of a scheme, how you might imagine the communication in the Internet of Things in a very easy and easy way. So the total trend of IoT devices, I like that pretty much. So that is according to a Gartner research, who expect a growth until the end of 2020, actually, to 20.4 billion devices being connected through the Internet of Things. So we see a massive growth there, but on the other side of things, we also see some challenges that go along with that massive growth. In general, I always divide between the business and the consumer sector when I talk about IoT. So quite easily, if it comes to the business sector, maybe smart meters that started in the industrial or business sector, first of it all, that make it a lot easier to control the consumption of energy and to measure such things. And just as an information, OTRS, for example, was also used in the United Kingdom when they integrated smart meters, OTRS became their #1 platform to managing requests, to monitor all these devices. In the business sector, quite easy. Think about commercial security systems, maybe cameras that make it easy to secure your property, to make sure that non-authorized people get access to your offices and plants and such things. Another sector which is getting more and more bigger is the industrial monitoring. So you might have heard about the topic IoT, so the industrial Internet of Things, that mainly focuses on things like predicting maintenance on certain production plants and such things, which is a growing market itself, where also OTRS comes into the game. So that is another manufacturer I'm not allowed to speak about yet, but that will be another interesting market we stepped into lately. In the private sector, think about automotive systems. Tesla started that with their over-the-air updates of the firmware of their cars. Think about self-driving cars, may it be Google, may it be Tesla themselves, and all the other manufacturers that started exploring that market for them. Private sector, Amazon Dash. I'm so sorry that these devices do not exist any longer. They were quite convenient, but somehow Amazon decided not to continue with these. Or the Nest products to control the temperature of your house, and such aspects. But with the growing number of IoT devices, there comes a threat, because IoT becomes a more and more interesting attack vector for the black hats, for sure, right? And we hear that on the news almost every day. May it be the health trackers that keep track that you move enough per day and such things, and other aspects. So my most famous, it's a little bit outdated already, but you might have heard about Goa on Mali, where we had that fitness tracker issue. On Google Maps, if you zoom into that place, you don't see any structures or anything. But if you analyze the data that was coming from fitness trackers, you can easily see structures, and funny enough, there's a military base located there. So they intentionally blurred that information on Google Maps, but just by using IoT devices and the kind of data they expose, and as you know, I mean, myself, I'm a little bit overweighted, yeah? So I'm proud if I start running and such things, and I'm happy to share that on the internet. And that is exactly what the soldiers did in here. They had never had the purpose exposing any security-related information, but by just analyzing that, and that is publicly available data, it's quite easy to understand what's going on there, right? And you can use that kind of information for any purpose, for sure. One of the latest news I've heard that was shared by Bruce Schneier, so the security, one of the most important security guys around the world. That was a casino in Las Vegas that had invested massively in securing their network. But the intrusion into that network happened finally through an aquarium, a fish tank. And that fish tank had sensors for measuring the quality of the water and temperature and such. And that was used to get access to their network. Bad enough, right? And they had a security organization, but they were just focusing on their network itself. They were not even aware that there's a fishbowl that is hooked up directly without VLAN tagging or anything like that onto their network. And unfortunately, that is what we see quite often happening. May it be an automower that keeps track about your lawn in front of your office, that it looks nice. Some of the manufacturers, they store Wi-Fi access data even unencrypted. So quite easy. Hey, if I have that information, I'm on your network. And guess what? with the wrong intention, I can do something real bad. And that is what's happening every single day. So why is that? So what I see is that the manufacturers of IoT devices, they are experts in their field. They are experts in building sensors for measuring quality of water and such things. But they are, in most cases, unaware of IT security aspects. They simply take an embedded device, put it online, no matter what, yeah? Sometimes they do not even take care how to update these devices. And that leaves their customers at a very high risk. So that is now where OTRS, or Storm powered by OTRS, comes into the game. So since we started the company, we are active as consultants in the security sector. So for example, we're also operating the so-called Bürgerzert, that is the governmental cert of Germany. That is just one of the systems we're completely operating. So we built in a process that is called our vulnerability handling process into OTRS. So what is a vulnerability? Easiest definition is someone found a potential risk that is exposing your system, your data. That per se we call a vulnerability. So it needs further analysis to understand, is it a real threat, is it a real vulnerability, and to understand how to fix such a vulnerability. The process itself, it's not looking that nice, so that is in the nature of all these process diagrams. As soon as you put them into a presentation, it's quite hard to read. What I propose, if you're interested in having that process, talking about that process into detail, please meet me over there at our booth. We have also the demo system to walk you through how it's working with all the aspects that might be interesting. So in general, we exchange our information also with sans.org. You might have heard of that platform, where you find information about cybersecurity related processes, best practices and such. So we are in heavy exchange with that platform as well. Another process we built into Storm, that is the so-called security incident handling process. That means a vulnerability was used to cause an incident. And that means, according to GDPR, for example, in case personal data was accessed and maybe taken away, you are required to also inform the authorities about that, right? And I think, as far as I remember, you have 72 hours to inform the authorities, according to the European data security regulation. If you don't do that, you're in even deeper trouble than anyways. So what we have done, because if a security-related incident happens, you see most typically not only the security team running wild, but also the C-suite, right? So all the decision makers of such an organization, they become a little bit nervous in most of the cases. And as you know, it might not help if the CEO is yelling at their IT stuff. It will not change the situation to the better. That is why we also said, okay, we need to streamline that. We need to automate that just to make sure how is that security incident handled? Are the authorities informed? What are we doing? Do we need to take the network offline or anything just to overcome the current situation and just to close that security incident as fast as possible? And finally, to analyze it and to come to a permanent solution and such. Also for that process, happy to walk you through it over there at our booth. Some more practical examples that you understand what we're doing. So CraftCert, that is one of the, a computer emergency response team that is specialized on supporting the energy suppliers throughout Norway. So also for them, we've done the consulting portion. We're operating their system as well as a managed system, because more often we are facing the situation that the customer themselves do not trust their internal IT staff. They don't want their regular IT staff to manage their security-related systems. That is where we come into the game. because our staff having security clearance and such, so we're also certified for operating such critical systems easily. Another one is Bosch. So for them, that is my preferred term, the PSIRT, so the Product Security Incident Response Team. That is quite tough, and it's so funny if you speak it. It sounds so weird, but that's how it is. They also use OTRS for all their product-related processes and tasks. It's another quite interesting use case for them. We started there in a small team, and then it has grown from there. Same thing for Sony. They cover even an additional aspect that is related to industrial espionage. So they have a lot of information they don't want to go public, and that is also handled through OTRS to make sure that this data is secured, as well as they do their travel warnings. If they send their employees to some countries, they have to get approval, and that is another use case we've built in travel security advice. So that means you simply at the country you want to send your staff to, and you're getting a rating back. So we're using web services for that purpose, just to determine would it be safe or would your staff need additional equipment to make sure that they are secure. Do they need even maybe bodyguards? Do they need to wear some security devices? Whatever might be needed, so that you're on the safe side, and just in case something happens, that you can also prove to your insurance, I've done everything possible just to secure the traveling of that employee. But anyways, incidents happen, as we know. Okay, I rushed through that very, very quick.
Yeah, but what about Sylvia?
Yeah, she's over there. So I did not want to steal your time, Sylvia. Please hand over. Yeah. She's next.